It's August, and the Auburn Tigers are red hot on the practice field, on the recruiting trail. It is really just all orange and blue right now. Objectively, that's the way it is. He's Zach Blackerby. I'm Brad Law, and this is a brand new Village Vice. It's great to be back. Zach, let's see if we remember how to do this.
Yeah. Hopefully we catch on quickly. But I mean, no, seriously, everything that Hugh Freeze has done, both on and off the field, over the last month has been spectacular. I mean, Auburn was the 15th-ish, depending on where you looked, ranked class just a few weeks ago, and now their consensus top 5, top 6 across the board. Brad, a lot of that has to do with the success that came from Big Cat Weekend, but it just didn't stop. I mean, you've now flipped 2 guys from Alabama with Antonio Coleman and Derek Smith. You also add Jared Smith over the weekend, who is the number 2 player in the state. And these are all big positions, Brad. It's just this class continues to get better and better, and it seems like more talent is on the way.
There's no question that more talent is on the way. The 25 class, if it holds, is one that they will write articles about in 10 years. It's one they'll write articles about in 20 years. It's one they wrote, by the way, articles about when it was the 2008 class for Alabama. Okay, they wrote articles at the time about how important it was to flip in-state recruiting on its ear.
Sure.
Because Tommy Tuberville did a really good job before Nick Saban got to Tuscaloosa of getting guys out of Mobile and Montgomery and Birmingham, and a few out of Huntsville at the time. I think Gerard Powers and some others. But, I mean, yeah, all the hotbeds in the state. And he kept Opelika guys at Auburn.
Yeah.
And then Nick Saban came and he changed that. And Auburn didn't get those guys anymore. Well, Auburn's back to getting those guys very clearly. They wrote articles about the 08 class. They'll write articles about the 25 class many years down the road.
Sure. And it's really shifted, I think, how most people view some of these top prospects. I mean, I don't know if Auburn folks would have admitted it, but it really seemed like, okay, these top 2 or 3 players in the state, or this top guy who goes to Parker like a Naeem Offord, or this top guy who is down in Foley. It always kind of felt like, oh, it'd be awesome if we got him, but like I'm not really expecting Auburn to land him. Like he's probably going to Bama, or maybe Georgia or Clemson will come in state and get him. You don't really feel that anymore. Now it almost feels like if Naeem Offord doesn't flip to Auburn at some point, it almost would be some level of disappointment. I mean, just the total perception about all of this has totally changed. Nobody is off limits anymore when it comes to Auburn acquiring this young talent.
And make no mistake, that perception is the engine that at least gets it lifted off the ground. It's the rocket boosters that get the thing off the ground. Now, after that, you've got to have results and development, and all those things are still in place. But right now, from a perception point of view, yes, it's red hot right now. And by the way, if it also means that if you're a member of this class and you're in the state and you're one of the top prospects, regardless of what your name is, why wouldn't you want to be a part of this class now? Don't you get a little bit of that group momentum, that group mentality? Because you hear that from a lot of these guys when they commit. They go, why not Auburn? Why not stay home and make it happen? And we could talk about the importance, Zach, of this NIL and portal era, and the importance of keeping guys close to home. Because that first moment that you get a little homesick and you go, man, this is hard. I don't know if I want to be here, but I'm home. I'm home. I'm not 1,000 miles away where it's easy to get homesick. I'm from California. I'm getting a little homesick. I'm so far away.
Yeah.
No, I'm right here at home. So I think that plays into this as well.
I do too. And it could be the early visit stuff when you're early in your recruitment process where it's like, you know what? Ohio State does sound fun.
Yeah.
They're going to be a lock for this 12-team playoff essentially every year. I mean, I think Columbus is a great part of the country. I go up there several times a year. Like, it's a great spot. I totally get why that would be an attractive place early in your recruitment process. But when you sit back and you talk to your family and you're like, well, y'all are going to be able to come to every game, right? Well, no, it's expensive. It's expensive to get up there. And you're like, we can't get up there 8 times a year. Like, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, even if the school will help, or you've got NIL situations to be able to get you up there, it's like that's a lot on us. That's a lot on us. Well, what if I went to Auburn? Oh yeah, we'd be there every day.
Yeah,
So
we just drive.
Oh, okay. And I think you're starting to see that conversation. I know for a fact you're starting to see that conversation happen in some families. And so
Mhm.
we'll see. We'll see, if that's enough. There's obviously a lot that goes into that, but we'll see exactly what that looks like over the span of the next few days. But I want to talk a little bit just about Jared Smith, who's the latest addition to this 2025 class at the time of us having this conversation, Brad, and just has stuff you can't teach. And Auburn is starting to add more and more of these guys that have stuff that you can't teach. This is that innate ability or really long frames where, Jared Smith's 6'6", and he doesn't have to bend over to tie his shoes. Just the level of separation that this guy is going to be able to create with that long frame and those long arms. He's going to be tough to block. And it's just, we talked about this throughout spring, going into spring, leaving spring, and then even throughout the summer, like questions about Auburn's pass rush. And that might be the case this year. Now, Kieron Crawford's stock is rising. Jalen McLeod's stock is rising. Keldrick Falk's stock is rising. But I still do think there's questions about Auburn's pass rush. But I think, Brad, with the addition of Jared Smith, I don't think we're going to have that question going into a season anymore for a long time. Keldrick will be back next year. Kieron Crawford will be back next year. These freshmen that are all on the defensive end and the buck spots, they'll be a year older, and we'll feel a lot better about their natural development a year from now.
Yep.
And after that, you've got Hezekiah Harris in the following class, as well as some other folks that possibly may join him. The trenches on the defensive side of the ball and offense, but for the sake of this conversation with Jared Smith, it's just this is what stacking classes does. And now we just got to wait for all the talent to get here.
Well, and look at that smile. You know this. You're a football intelligent guy, high football IQ. You look at the NFL, what are the two highest paid positions in the NFL? What do you have to have? You have to have a quarterback.
Yeah.
And you have to have pass rushers. Mm-hmm. Those are the money positions. Left tackle is important, or right tackle if you have a left-handed quarterback. Some teams have left-handed quarterbacks. That's a thing.
That's interesting. Why'd you bring that up?
Well, I'm just saying some teams have left-handed quarterbacks, and so
not
you need
a lot.
A right
I'm curious what you mean by that. I don't know why you needed to bring that up.
I'm just trying to cover all of our bases.
Understood.
That's all.
Education's important.
Sure. But yeah, Auburn is adding top-tier talent to the important spots. You've seen people talk about the safeties in this class, and I saw a post on X that Auburn would have the top 2 safeties in the class and didn't have to go more than 200 miles away from campus to get it. Defensively, these next couple of years are loaded with top-tier defensive talent, and Auburn is not getting its share. Auburn is getting more than its share of top-tier defensive talent.
Auburn is leaving no crumbs when it comes to acquiring the talent in state. It's so fun. So fun.
I have another thought relative to perception, and I'm going to do what a lot of people did at Media Days, and that's compliment Nick Saban. And I'm going to do that after I tell you wonderful folks about our brand new partners at Barner Supply Company.
Awesome.
Check this out. Look at this hat.
It's clean.
Don't you want to get one of these hats?
Sure.
We have a link in the show description today for Barner Supply Company. These are the kind of people that you're going to want to support. They have hats, they have other apparel, they have stickers. These are 2 couples with children. They're made up of 3 Auburn grads plus another, just an OG Auburn kid, born and raised in the city of Auburn, found his passion serving others in the Auburn Fire Department. And what they've done, they've taken Barner Supply. This term Barner, other people try to use it as a negative thing. They've taken it and said, let's embrace it. Let's be excited about being Barners, and let's proudly show off that we're blue collar, hardworking, humble, trustworthy people, because that's what farmers, Barners, people who work around that's what they are.
Sure.
So check out Barner Supply Company. Check out the link in the show description and get you some gear. You'll support some outstanding people with an outstanding mission in mind, and you'll help out the show a little bit as well. Barner Supply Company. Okay, Nick Saban was really smart, Zach. I was around in 2007 when he was hired at Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And Auburn won the Iron Bowl in 2007, his first year. It was Auburn's 6th in a row. Fear of the thumb. I guess fear of the thumb was 5, wasn't it?
Yeah, fear
And
the
then we
other
added
hand.
another.
I forgot what we said there. Yeah.
Yeah. But then that 08 recruiting class kind of, flipped things on its ear. And Tommy Tuberville's last Auburn team got pasted pretty good in Tuscaloosa. Okay.
Sure.
That
was rough. Yeah.
Nick Saban was really smart. He saw what was coming for Auburn recruiting. Now, is it a product of NIL and transfer portal and all? Sure, but Auburn's in great position to use those things to its advantage, to use, dare I say, a level playing field. The advantage was gone. He knew it. And rather than waiting another season, he went ahead and got out at a smarter time. So I think it was very savvy. I think it was very wise. And I think it was 100% strategic for him to leave the head coaching job at Alabama when he did. Because Hugh Freeze won some head-to-head battles against him last year. He was going to win more this year on the recruiting trail. And enough of those lead to more wins on the field as well, which we all want to see coming. But I just give credit to the former Alabama coach for stepping away when he did, because he saw the avalanche that was coming from the Plains.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I think so. I'm cool with all that. I don't know what you want me to say back to that, but sure. I think it's a good observation. No question.
Yeah. He could have waited around another year and then sort of been in the crosshairs of, and it been very evident. Now somebody else gets to take the fall for getting beat head to head on the recruiting trail.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
He served his best interest, which was a wise thing for him to do.
Sure.
Speaking of wise things to do.
Yes.
All right. You watched some practice last week, as you were able to do. What did practice look like to you? What are your thoughts on the first half week or so of practice?
I think the roster looks better in terms of guys being developed. Like the roster looks bigger. I mean, especially at wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Because, that's all we have to go on is eye test. Like, what do you look like now compared to a year ago? And I think most positions look better now than they did a year ago. Wide receiver, to me, like that just stole the show the first day. And they gave us 45 minutes that first day, and everybody can't stop talking about Perry Thompson and Cam Coleman and Keandre Lambert-Smith. That's a trio that Auburn hasn't had in a very long time, which is exciting.
Yeah.
And then the offensive line, Brad, to me, they look like a top tier SEC offensive line. Those are the two position groups that physically impressed me the most.
Yeah.
Then obviously the running backs looked really, really good as well. I'm blown away by how good Jamari Alston looks. And I felt a little guilty when I saw him because I've been so high on Jarquez Hunter that maybe Jeremiah Cobb hopping him. And that still could happen just because Cobb is so gifted and talented. But Jamari's not going anywhere. They're all three going to be used a ton in this offense, and that's going to be fun to see.
That takes me back to a conversation we had at one point over the summer about the use of running backs.
Yeah.
And can Auburn have 1,000-yard? Well, yeah, sure, they can have 1,000-yard receiver, but is it realistic to not receiver? See, I'm a little rusty. Is it realistic to have 1,000-yard rusher when you have three guys who legitimately you feel good about giving them the ball on any down and distance in any situation and at any point on the field?
If Jarquez Hunter does not have 1,000 yards, assuming he stays healthy all year, Auburn has done a disservice to him.
Okay.
I think. He was so close a year ago. If you want to pull up, he was so close.
He had 900 plus yards and he didn't play in the first game. So would he have gotten 100 against UMass? Yes, he would have had 1,000 last year.
Yeah. And to me, Auburn just didn't play as many snaps as they should have a year ago. They just didn't stay on the field. They couldn't sustain drives. And so I think the natural byproduct of that is, yes, Auburn will have 1,000-yard rusher. I think Jarquez Hunter is the clear RB1 I think the conversation isn't, okay, this three-headed monster, they're all going to get equal touches. I think Damari and Jeremiah will get equal touches, but Jarquez Hunter is the clear RB1.
Okay.
That's just my gut reaction. And we say this all the time, like Hugh Freeze tells us point blank. And then after the fact, we're like, oh yeah, we should have listened to him. I mean, he could have said anything he wanted to at that main stage at SEC Media Days. He hinted at it a little bit because he was asked the same questions again for the opening of fall camp, that presser. But I mean, he kind of called out the national media in that room, saying like Jarquez Hunter, like he's not getting the praise that he's worthy of.
Yeah.
And I think he's saying all that for a reason, Brad. So yes, I think if Auburn doesn't have a 1,000-yard rusher, something went wrong.
Let me revisit another conversation then that we had. Perry Thompson, does your opinion of his utilization in let's say the month of August and September, has it changed after the first few days of fall camp?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I mean, he is just so physically special with what you want. I thought he would still look like, I thought he would look good, but I didn't think he would look like a second or third year player in an SEC program. Yeah. I mean, you talk about having stuff you can't teach. That guy, holy cow. But still, obviously, he's got to learn the plays. And then who's he going to hop? I mean, there's just a lot of dudes that, I mean, you talk about market share at running back. I think at wide receiver, it's even more interesting. But the guys he's competing with at that outside spot, Keandre Lambert-Smith, which they're both going to be outside wide receivers, but they are very different type wide receivers, which is good and bad, I think. And then Camden Brown is probably the other guy that he would need to hop.
Let's don't sleep on Camden Brown either. Let's don't sleep on Cam.
Sure. Camden Brown won me over in the spring.
Yep.
But if you told me Perry hopped him by a month into the season, it's nothing against Camden Brown. It's just that wouldn't shock me because Perry's it clicked for Perry Thompson.
That's it's a great. I mean, look, just
what
think
a problem
about it.
to have. 100%.
Think about the defensive coordinators. If you have a Cam Coleman, KLS, Rivaldo Fairweather on the field, and even a Damari Alston in the backfield.
Yeah, any of the running backs in the backfield. What do you do?
Who do you double? What do you do? Do you bracket? I mean, what do you do? What do you do? I feel like the Jennifer Lawrence in the hot. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you do?
Right.
And no, it's a fantastic problem or issue to have. I don't know if we want to get into this today, maybe a little later in the week, but you talked about it on Locked on Auburn today. The comment that Jalen McLeod made about Kieron Crawford.
Yeah.
Actually makes me question less Auburn's ability to rush the passer. And I think it can be a big marker for success this season. We will talk about it. Let's go ahead and talk about it today. After I tell our friends again about Rowback. Went to the beach last week and I saw several Rowback shirts. And I just wanted to go up and ask, did you get that from rowback.com and use promo code VICE20?
Yeah, I hope you didn't pay full price for that. You look great, by the way. You look great in your Rowback clothes, but I hope you didn't spend full price on that.
Right, because we could save you 20% on their polos or their quarter zips or their hoodies. They're insanely comfortable hoodies. Plus just other leisure gear. Check out the full lineup. It's a lot of fun just to go look at all the different prints that they have available.
It's insane. It's almost, it's a tad overwhelming. I actually, when I was looking, I'm like, honey, I like all these. I need you to pick one out for me.
Right.
I had to call in backup.
I need a seventh job to be able to buy just all these that I want from Rowback, but you'll save 20%. All right. Rowback.com, promo code VICE20 at checkout. You'll support the show when you do it, and you'll look great, feel fantastic, and you'll get complimented on your clothes all the time when you go to rowback.com. Jalen McLeod said in an interview players made available after one of the practices last week that Kieron Crawford's a better pass rusher than he is. Okay, that's given flowers, fine. He said he's your prototypical. He's a prototype at the buck position or rushing the passer. Between Falk going to media days,
and
all the praise he's earned spring and afterwards, And now Kieron Crawford getting praise after just a couple of days of practice from the guy who's leading at that position. Jalen McLeod could have said anything when asked the question. He wasn't asked, is he a better pass rusher than you? He was asked, give us your thoughts on Kieron Crawford. He could have said, he's really, let me give you the coach speak, all right, or the player speak. You could tell he's got a lot of talent, and he's going to be a really good player. He's learning right now, so he's trying to catch up to the speed of the game, and transferring from Arkansas State. And once he gets that down, I think he's going to be a really good player. That's not what he said. He says he's a better pass rusher than I am. Prototypical. He's only played a couple of years of football.
Mm-hmm.
Still raw, but you're starting to get to the territory where if there's not a lot of drop off between McLeod and Crawford, and you got Keldrick Falk on the other side, you have three bona fide pass rushers. Your secondary is good enough to make teams pay.
Yeah. You're getting all choked up just thinking about it. No, let me preface this. I hope he's right, because if that's the case, boy, did Auburn get a gem in the transfer portal this offseason. And just the tandem of them is going to help Keldrick. It's going to help the interior defensive line. It's going to help everybody if Kieron Crawford is the best pass rusher on this team. Because that's what he's saying. That's what he's saying, because Jalen McLeod right now is the best pass rusher on the team. And if he's better than Jalen, boy, that'd be awesome. My question is, how does he know? How does he know that? Because at the time where he said it, they hadn't had a practice in full pads, and they haven't done anything full speed yet. And anything they've done over the fall has been in shorts and a t-shirt and not live at all. So my question is, how does he know that? I think this was coach speak.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Give the flowers, give the props, support the new guys, and say, I think that's his way of saying, man, I'm excited about this guy and he's really going to help us, which is true. That can be true. But Jalen saying he's a better pass rusher than him, is like, I don't think there's any way to know that at this point of the offseason.
I think that's fair. And I think if you want to take the patient approach, let me wait and see, then that's totally valid. If, on the other hand, you feel like some extra boog on a Monday.
We can bug. I'm fine with it. I'm just asking the questions here. How does he know that?
What did we think of Jalen McLeod on August 5th last year?
I think we were pretty high on him.
But we were still a little bit like, can he be the best pass rusher on the team? He was at Appalachian State. He's still got to prove it at this level. We don't know for sure that he's going to be the guy. I think there were some reservations about him a year ago.
But his role was similar to what Kieron's is now, not what Jalen's is now, because of Elijah McAllister a year ago. And we were never talking about how he needs to be the best dude on this defensive front, because Elijah McAllister didn't say, yes, he's better than me. And Elijah was new too. We'd never seen him in an Auburn uniform up to this point, which, sidebar, kind of crazy to think about that he was only here a year. I feel like we watched him for forever because we all loved him so much and he was such an Auburn guy. But I've said it all offseason. Like, the guy I'm most excited about is Kieron Crawford when you talk about the transfer portal guys. I'm a Kieron Crawford believer.
Yep.
But my question just is, like, how does Jalen know that? Because they haven't done that yet. It's just not that point of the offseason. I think if you told me, if we're 6 weeks in, some time traveler came back from 6 weeks into the future, or 6 weeks into the season, and says, hey, yes, the pass rush is really good this year, I'd be like, sweet. It makes sense. Jalen stays healthy and takes a step forward. Kieron hits the ground running, and then Keldrick does what we're supposed to, like what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
None of us are batting an eye. It's like, cool, this was the plan.
Yeah.
It's just, there's so many assumptions baked into that, Brad, where, like, well, Keldrick does need to take that step forward. And he went to media day, so the coaching staff, needs him to do that. It's like, okay, cool. But, like, also, love Elijah McAllister. They took him to media days last year, and he wasn't that great at rushing the passer.
Yeah.
So there's different contexts, and I think they're going to be fine, Brad. I'm just saying, hold on, guys. Let's don't put all this pressure on some of these kids just because the next step is supposed to happen. Let's wait for it to happen, or there could be some actual problems on this defensive front.
I think there's validity to that approach, to that patient approach. I would say, don't you feel better about the combo? Again, we love Elijah McAllister, but
Yes,
don't you
feel better
feel
this year.
better?
Yes.
Don't you feel better about McLeod Crawford 1-2 than you did about McAllister McLeod this time a year ago?
100%. 100%. And I don't know if McAllister was like the perfect fit. I think he would have been better to gain 10 or 15 and play strong side end.
Yeah.
But that's not what he did, obviously. And he had moments and he was awesome. I mean, I'd rather have Elijah McAllister than not, no question. But yes, as far as upside for pass rush potential, 100% take what they've got this year. 100%.
That's it. And we love, again, can't say it enough. We love Elijah McAllister. Probably like culture on steroids for year one in coming in and setting the tone for what you want your locker room and your personality of your program to be. 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I talked to Elijah and he's still around, which is really cool. So fun to hop back into this pod with you, Brad, but I think that about does it for today's show.
It does. More regular episodes coming as we get closer to the season starting. Summer is over. Summer is over, and it's time for the season to start. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Remember, until next time, everyone has vices. Make sure Village Vice is one of yours.